And so this morning what I want to do is to spend a little time kind of queuing up what this beginning of the school year is going to look like, what we're planning for the year. We'll briefly introduce some of our new staff members and go on from there. So, you know, in July, we held 2 nights of graduation out behind the school here, and it was 2 beautiful nights, and it was pretty surreal to be back there. I don't know the last time we had a graduation outside, but it was pretty impressive. A lot of people put some hard work into that. But one of the things that I said to the students that were assembled there was, every generation seems to hold a cross to bear. My parents, many of your parents were part of that great generation that fought in World War II. They were in the Great Depression. Their parents were in World War I. They faced that other Spanish flu that killed 675,000 Americans back in 1918. And their grandparents fought in the Civil War, which divided the country and killed close to 1 million people. And you know, many of those generations felt at times like the country was coming apart, that we might not survive this. And not only did they survive it, but they did persevere. And we will too. You know, we're facing a pandemic of epic proportions in the midst of a divided country that I haven't seen as much in my lifetime, and in an economic crisis. And this is what we're going to face. And public school seems to be the touchstone. We're in the middle of this. This is where, you know, this is the center of communities in American life. And so we're ones who have to kind of figure this out for our communities. And it's gonna be challenging. If 2020 was an ice cream truck, it would be liver and onions. Is there anything else that you don't like? Because this year has been the worst. People have been out of work, kids can't go to school, you've seen the stress on families, we can't see our families. I'd love to see my grandkids in North Carolina, what we're going to be going through. But what I do know is this. Most of our parents want our children to be back in school. They told us that in the survey, most of them. And our students want to get back to normalcy, and our community wants to get back to normalcy. And our public health department has given the green light based on the infection rate being relatively low in the county to move forward. And our reopening committee, which I can't say enough about, the reopening committee of administrators and teachers and counselors and parents that were part of those 5 subcommittees in the reopening committee, they've been working very hard to accommodate families, remote versus in-person learning. And we've also been able to accommodate a lot of staff members who are concerned about coming back. And I also know that none of this will happen unless we all do our part, that I do my part as superintendent, and you do your part as a teacher or a counselor or a bus driver or a food service worker or buildings and grounds. We all have to do our part. So ahead of us will probably be some of the hardest work of our lives, no question. And there will be mistakes, and there will be frustration, and there will be times when we'll wonder if we can really do this. But I do have faith that if we all stick together and we're flexible and we can deal with ambiguity, because this is a shared experience and no one has the answers, and that we communicate with each other, we can do it. And our community is counting on us to do it. And I hope that years from now, when we look back at all this, and I hope it's not too long, that we're proud of the part that we played for our students and our families in our community. So over the course of the next 4 days, we have a lot to accomplish. We have a lot to prepare for students to get back to work. And so I want to go over a few of those with you this morning. So these are the conditions for us to reopen. We have to be in phase 4 of New York State guidance, which is an infection rate of 5% or less over 14 days. We are there. We have to have adequate equipment and ability to look at local surges. I look every day on the webpage of where we are with the coronavirus in our region. We have to have screening in place. All of you, today we had a screening process for you on online as well as paper copy. We'll continue to do that. We should have an app up and running by the end of the week, which we'll talk about. and we'll be doing a lot of training with our staff. Chris, if you could queue up for me, and thank you, Chris, for all your help in setting up this morning, as well as Mike and your crew, and Stephanie, who's been working tirelessly to get this up. I don't think she even slept all night getting things prepared for today. So the Harvard Institute of World Health is what our local public health looks to for metrics on opening. And if you go to that, and I sent it out in my last board update, if you want to take a look at it, I look at it all the time. It's updated pretty regularly. And what you see here is you can hover over any county in the country, including St. Lawrence County, which you can see up there in the green, which is kind of been going between green and yellow. Green, there's a 4-point scale, green, then yellow, then orange, and red being always bad. Red is bad. Red is the worst, means stop. We're at a 0.9% infection rate. It's a 7-day moving average. It's the number of cases per 100,000 in the county. So we're at the green, and you can see, if you take your cursor off that, you'll see across the North Country, we are in a better place than some other places in the state, and certainly in places in the country. As our public health, I know that a local doctor had written a pretty sensational article recently about opening of schools, and the public health kind of took the task over that, because that's not what our local public health is talking about. This is what they're talking about with the science. But one of the things that Dr. Andrews said was, if I was living in Florida or Georgia right now, I would have written the same article. Because there are areas of the state that are, in the country, that are not in good shape. If you scroll down, Chris, for a second, I want to show this. You can see the scale at the bottom here. Green is on track for containment. You can see the yellow, which is community spread, rigorous tests and trace programs advised, and you see the orange and the red. So we want to keep it in the green. And the only way we keep that in the green, and Chris, you can go back to presentation, thank you. The only way to keep that in the green is if we are following our operational foundations here. And you saw some of that this morning. You're coming in, you've been screened, you're answering the questions, you're having your temperature checked, you're 6-foot distancing, wearing your mask, washing your hands frequently, hand sanitizing. If we do those things, we have the best chance to keep this out of our schools. Will we have it in schools in St. Lawrence County? Probably. I mean, based on things, and we'll have to deal with that as they come up. So let me talk a little bit about screening. We just mentioned some of that. We are going to have a screening app that's going to be up soon. You can either do the screening app, or some of you, if you want to use a paper copy, but it will be a daily screening for our employees, and it will be a daily screening for our parents, for the students. And that will need to be done, and then when they come into school, all the students and staff will have their temperature checked as they come in. If there are problems with that, if you're an employee, if you answer yes to any of those questions, then you need to stay home and contact your supervisor. Or if you get sick during the day, then you need to contact your supervisor, and also we'll be going home. With students, same thing. We'll have an isolation room, and they should stay home certainly. But if they come and they get sick here, there'll be an isolation room. The nurse will reach out to their families, and also to have them go to their doctor. We'll talk about that in a minute. So you see the screening process that we have already put in place. Face coverings. Face coverings help reduce the spread. The science is very clear on that. Everyone has to have a face covering, and if you don't, we will provide one for you, including the students. We will, at times, if you need to take a break, there will be times for you to do that. For students, at times we will ask teachers to provide mask breaks during certain times, just for a couple of minutes, so that they can get the mask off and breathe a little easier. And we will provide additional PPE for those who need it, and that would include face shields or, if necessary, the N95 ones. Social distancing, I mentioned, we're keeping our spaces at least 50% capacity or less, in most cases much less than that. We are restricting most of our spaces. You'll see the classrooms are set up with 6 foot spaces. Markers are on, there's arrows around the school. Some of them are just putting up today because of cleaning, but there'll be arrows for students and staff to use to walk to keep the 6 foot distance. And in PE and in also phys ed classes, it needs to be 12 foot distancing. The other part is being sure to wash your hands as frequently as you can, and that includes washing them with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. And using hand sanitizer. We have them in lots of different places. They will be in the classrooms. We're going to be looking to put them also on our buses and in common areas. The important thing for students is that they are hand sanitizing in, hand sanitizing out, because we just simply don't have the staff to clean in between classes at all times. Now, it's a little easier in the elementary school where we're cohorting students, the 3rd grade class, 4th grade class, where they're all together. It's harder at the high school and junior high where they tend to move more often. But on the other hand, we have half the students in the schools now, and half the students are less on the buses. So we are social distancing, and the hand sanitizer is going to be important too, if this is going to work. You want to cue this one up, Chris? So this is the screening. I don't know if everybody can see this on the that are at your desk, but this is what public health is providing for screening. I posted this to the web page. You can take a look at it. It's under our COVID sources. There are a lot of resources there. But it goes through if the student screens, by the parent, and they answer no to all the questions. They come in. There's no temperature. If they then they can ride the bus to school. They become symptomatic at school. They'll be isolated. They'll go to the nurses. I said they consult with now the nurses. Now the county has set up a pediatric team, and that pediatric team will, if there is a suspected case or that there are symptoms, the nurses will be able to call that pediatric team and have a consultation as part of this process. So that is an added piece of safety here. And the student is monitored and isolated at home. If the student is considered a person under investigation, as it's called, or suspected to have COVID, there's no other logical reason why they have those symptoms. And then from there, then they're going to be, the parent will be informed, and they'll need to go to their doctor and look at getting a test. And then they'll go through the testing and the quarantine process before they can come back to school. You want to scroll that up, Chris? Thank you. And so they go through the quarantine process, and then eventually we can get them back into school. One of the benefits in having, and I know this is very challenging to have remote, and we have the Digital Mondays going on, and then we have the AV classes, and most of our students are going to be 3 days a week not being in school. But one of the benefits, if there is a case, we can move to remote very quickly. We're flexible enough; we can move back and forth between the different teaching modalities. Okay. So if you want to go back to that again, that's up on the web page if anybody wants to look at it in specifics. And we've talked a lot about our options for instruction. We are in hybrid and remote learning, so I don't need to spend a lot of time on that. Over the course of the next few days, Stephanie has set up, and others, administrators have set up a lot of training on the different learnings that will need to take place. I like this meme. 8 days in our family lockdown and starting to question whether the Donner Party was even hungry. If you remember the Donner Party, they were the ones in the 1830s who got caught in the Sierra Nevadas and they ended up eating each other. I think that's kind of how some of our families have been feeling for the last, since March, right? And so part of this, to bring us all back together, is not just about the academics and learning, but it's also about the social emotional learning. And this week we're going to be doing some of that with our staff, training staff on how to talk to students, support each other. We'll be doing a needs assessment. Counselors and Kristen have been spending a lot of time on this. There's going to be some restorative justice circles that will be done in order to have some conversation about where we are in planning, where we are mentally coming back. We're going to have more mental health counseling in the schools this year, both virtual and in person. We knew that our students had issues. We've seen an uptick in mental health issues even before COVID, and now they're certainly going to be exacerbated by being isolated and being home in some cases in some pretty unhealthy environments at times. And then our facilities. Greg and his crew have been working overtime to put together, there's going to be signs on the walls. You've seen the markers, the hand sanitizers, the polycarbonate glass up to protect people, all of those types of things they've been working on. We've purchased enough PPE to get us started. We'll continue to purchase masks. We have about 12,000 masks in storage now. We're trying to keep up with that, keep up with the hand sanitizers so that we can be successful. We're looking to put in more hydration stations, having students come in with their water bottles instead of a drinking fountain. Our filters are in good shape. As far as the air, we are going to look to increase our airflows in the rooms, and just a lot of disinfecting and cleaning going on by our cleaners continually. The teachers, you will have disinfectant in the classroom. If you want to use it, you can. I know teachers, even before the pandemic, like to clean in a little bit around when there were messes. We just don't have, as I said, we don't have the staff. We did a trial run. We'd have to hire, in order to clean between classes at the high school, we need 20 more people for those just to clean in between there. And it's just not feasible to do that. So we'll put that cleaner in there. If teachers want to use it, they can. If they don't, that's up to them. So that's a little bit on our safety protocols. That's the most important thing, folks, is to keep each other safe and do our job in doing so. So I'm going to just run through. We also, the beat goes on with hiring staff and people retiring and leaving. We are a people business. So you see here we're happy to bring in Nikki Arney. She is from Messina. She's a library aide. She'll be at all of our elementary schools. Tamara Averill grew up in Brazier Falls. She's going to be an earth science teacher at the high school. She's at EK right now. They're going to hold her until next week, so we won't see her until then. But we're glad to be able to bring Tamara in. Alicia Binion from Canton. She's going to be a special ed teacher at Nightingale. Welcome, Alicia. Michelle Benham from Fort Jackson, a teacher aide at the high school. So we welcome Michelle. Corinne Bradish is originally from Watertown. She will be a teacher assistant at Nightingale. You'll see we've been hiring some teacher assistants. We did bring back, or we started some preschool special education programs in both the Madison and Nightingale. And part of the reason for that is BOCES is no longer supporting those programs, and we need a nice environment for our youngsters coming in. So that is paid through from state and county dollars. Darlene Bordeaux, originally from Messina, she will be a teacher aide at Nightingale. Heather Shantosh from Brushton Mawira originally will be a teacher assistant at Jefferson. Lisa Dashnot comes to us from Potsdam. She'll be an art teacher here at the high school. Welcome to Lisa. Amanda Darragon. Amanda's from Ransomville, New York, and she'll be a teacher assistant at Madison. Nicole DeShays, a Messina native. She comes to us from Salmon River. We're happy to get Nicole. She's going to be teaching math at the junior high. Some of you may recognize Doreen Kemison. Doreen was with us before. She's back again. And Doreen's she's originally from Brush, Moira. She's going to be a teacher aide at junior high. Mackenzie LeBrake, originally from Messina, and she'll be a teacher assistant at Madison. So welcome, Mackenzie. Miller, probably the farthest as far as growing up, grew up in Mexico City, came here as an exchange student and did not leave. And so she's a teacher assistant for us. We hired for Nightingale and also has her ESL background. So we may recognize Jackie Oliver. Jackie Oliver is, she's been living here in Messina, from Messina, teacher aide at Madison. And Spencer Page. Spencer is from Norfolk originally, went to Norfolk. He's going to be our earth science teacher, at the high school. Ben Reed from Lisbon. He's going to be filling in as a technology teacher, as a long-term sub as he gets certified, but we're happy to fill that position at junior high. He's very interested in the technology side. Deanna Smith from Messina originally, teacher assistant at Nightingale. And Rachel Ben from Ellenberg Depot will be an elementary teacher at Nightingale. And finally, Christy Weiss. Christy Weiss is from Lockport, New York. She'll be one of our new high school special ed teachers, which are very hard to find, and we're still looking for them. There's certain positions it's very difficult to fill, and that is one of them. And then I just put our list of familiar faces. These are people that we hired. Either they were here before or they were hired since last year. You see Jane Baines come back after a year. She'll be our nurse at Madison now. And Austin Coleman, social studies teacher at the high school, and Cami D'Souza. Evelyn Fisk, can't thank her enough for coming back. In the midst of all this, we have a significant administrative change. And bringing Alan to the high school and Evelyn to backfill while we present this, while we find a educational leader for junior high, I really appreciate their flexibility in doing that. We look forward to working with Evelyn. Colleen Haggett, Tammy Hardigan, Jamie Labarge, Charity Murtaugh. We see Alan there, Rob Pelkey, Crystal St. John, the mining secretary who's fitting right in, Angie Wilhelm. So let's have a Messina round of applause for all of our new staff. I want to briefly talk a little bit. Usually we are we have met over the summer. We're setting our district goals. We have our metrics in place, and we're moving on. We're sharing these with you. We're all working together on them. You know, this year basically our first goal is to safely reopen schools. And on all this is basically just to, which we talked about, is to get things open. That's our top priority. Track the infection rates, monitor, and do our instruction in a hybrid model. That's going to take up most of our time. Instructional technology training, we had about 70 people go through training this summer with the tech camp. Thanks to Stephanie's work on organizing that and for all who attended. We're now in this kind of instruction where a lot of it's technology, and it's important that we're prepared for this new type of instruction, and we're going to be doing more of that this year. We have a district comprehensive improvement plan. This is called a DSIP. We're a targeted district under the Every Student Succeeds Act. The reason we're a targeted district is because of our special education students' level of achievement at the high school level. That would be the scores on Regents exams, their graduation rate, and their absenteeism. So we need to work on that. And our top priorities will be engaging those students, literacy, involving their families, attendance, and social emotional learning. So a committee has put this plan together, and we're going to work the plan. Dealing with state aid reductions. Our state aid was flat this year. Actually, it was less than flat. It was a cut because some of our monies were required to provide to Trinity Catholic School. So we actually have already taken a cut. It's looking like right now, we're talking, unless the Congress comes up with some support, a second stimulus bill that will support schools and local governments, we're going to have some significant issues. $15 billion deficit in the state. To put that in perspective, the Great Recession was $10 billion, and it's $15 billion now. We need that support, and we're lobbying for it. It's from New York. You know, our senators from New York, they get it, they support it. And the House of Representatives has already passed it. So you can still talk to your legislators, but their support there. The problem is getting all the other states and the president to support providing aid to schools. But if we don't get it, we could be looking at 20% cuts across the board. So we're going to need to deal with that. And we're going to need to have a plan for it. And we will work on that. Labor contracts. Last year we went through a process to look, on the advice of our labor units, was to look at health insurance plans. Could we do better on health insurance than what we currently have? The determination at the end was right now, it looks like no. But during that process, and going through that process, then the pandemic hit. And so then we were looking at a one-year contract. And then we're looking at state aid reduction and so forth. We are looking to go back to the table here. We're setting up meetings now. And I hope that we can come up with a fair agreement when it comes to contracts, at least for the time being, for what's been talked about. 1 year, it could be more, but who knows when we get talking, but that's something that is on our list of priorities, is our contract with our labor. Student-centered learning, that's continuing from last year, providing opportunity for more student learning, active learning in the classroom. Integrating this technology is going to be a key part of that, and giving students voice in the classroom. And improving student outcomes, continuing to work on raising student achievement, graduation rates, and attendance. Social emotional learning, we did already talk about that. That's also going to be our focus this year, and we'll be doing more work on that this week. And finally, our capital project, we are in the midst of a $49.6 million project. It is going quite well. You've seen the work at Nightingale. That's pretty well. The site work is down to some punch list items, but I think that's going to be a better environment for our families and keeping our students safe and our families as they're dropping off, and our staff. Junior high, also same thing. That's almost done. We're running into a little issue with the staff parking lot, but we are going to get that done. Junior high roof, the Jefferson roof will be done. And then next year, we're looking at doing the site work at Madison and some site work at CAD and Jefferson as well, and doing the roofs at Madison and Nightingale and some of the other buildings as well. And then we'll get into the interior of the building. Our goal for phase 2, which will take overall be for 2 years, will be all the work that we put mostly inside of our buildings over the course of the next couple of years, which we've talked about. So that's what we're going to be working on. Even though we didn't sit and set a lot of goals because we were all focusing on this reopening, that we have a lot to do. I'll also some of this is mandated. I need to go through with you. I'll just briefly, we all know FERPA, keep everything confidential. Student records need to remain confidential for our families. Don't have confidential records lying around. Dignity for All Students is our anti-bullying. We have a hotline, ensure that we are treating each other with respect, treating our students with respect, and making sure that they have a safe environment. That's all of our responsibility. District computers should be used for our educational purposes only. Building safety plans, make sure that they're in the room. We are, even under COVID, required to have all of our safety drills, and we do need to be prepared for our safety drills to keep ourselves safe. Special education, the main takeaway there is follow the IEP. Everybody needs to be sure you're following the IEP. It is the law, provide the accommodations there. I know that is more challenging under COVID with the remote learning, and I know we'll do the best we can where that's concerned. ID badges, be sure that you have them on at all times. If we ever have an emergency, we need to, whoever's coming in, emergency personnel need to know who's an employee and who's not. Email, voicemail, this is all about communication. If there's one thing I hear from parents, it's when we don't communicate with them. Whether it's us, or whether it's a teacher or a counselor or somebody not communicating with them in a timely manner or at all. And so some of us, if we need to up our game where that's concerned. Personal cell phone use, that should be very, very limited and to absolutely necessary and during breaks. And transportation of students in vehicles, don't do it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Don't do it. Attendance, it's important that we're here. It's critically important. We read the articles and we know our situation. We're all, we have a teacher shortage. We have a sub shortage. But we're in the midst of a pandemic. So if you are sick, stay home. If you're really not, we need you. We need you more than we've ever needed you to be here, to be at work, to be dedicated to the work that you do. Everybody's job in this district is important. And maintaining your certification, if you are a certified person, is a responsibility that you need to follow. We'll help you with that, but at the end of the day, it's up to that teacher. I've had to a few times. We've had to let teachers go, particularly teachers, if they don't have their certification. That's not a comfortable conversation. And technology and maintenance requests, I think we all know where those tickets are on the web page. Be sure that you're following those rather than stopping Mike or his crew or any of the, Darren and his crew and the rest of them in the hallway. Put in your ticket. That's the best way to get there. So finally, this meme, homeschool day one, coming from the parents, wondering how I can get this kid transferred out of my class. One of the things that's come out of this is a new appreciation for teachers. It's important. And when parents had to have their kids home all the time, they saw how important that was in them trying to provide the education. As we open this new school year, we need to build on that good feeling that came out, that the community is looking to us. They are looking to us for support and leadership and guidance, and we're going to be the ones that provide it to them. So with that, we know where we've been. We kind of know where we're going. It's going to be a heck of a year. Let's stick together. Let's communicate. Let's do our part, and we'll have the best chance to have a great year the best year possible for our students and families. So, thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great week.
Sure does. I'm talking to you too.
I'm listening.
So do I. Good morning, Messina Central. Welcome back. We appreciate that you are joining us today. What I want to do is a very quick presentation on the next 4 days. So the first thing that I want to share with you before we go any further in the journey that we're about to begin, that number one, the relationships that we're going to be creating, especially in the next 2 weeks, should be top priority versus being concerned about a test, a quiz, a curriculum alignment. What I want you to focus on, please, please, is making those connections and those relationships both with your students and your colleagues. Because in a moment's notice, we do not know where we will be. So if we do have to go to the remote world again, we want to make sure that our students see our loving faces, our kind words. I share with you relationships before rigor. In the next part, what I'd like to say is having grace over the grades. So yes, this year we do have to take grades. However, in this environment that you're teaching in and that our students are learning in, we're all learning. So having that level of expectation when it comes to the grading, yes, we do need to have that hook there, but we're going to have to be graceful in how we look at that. So I encourage you that it's not putting the A at the top, the D at the top, or checking the box, but asking students to share with you what they know and what they're able to do. Patience before programs. And what I mean by that is when we are patient, the curriculum, it will happen. When we are patient, our time together as teams and PLCs will be even more valuable. Please be patient with me, with your principals, and with the plan that has been put forth by our committees. And most important, before we go and we just gruel over those lessons and making sure that those lessons are perfect, it's more important that you remember why you got into this job. Is you love students, you love the interaction, you love to teach. So stop grueling over the lessons themselves and remember why we're doing this. More importantly, those relations, in the next 4 days, we are going to be providing you tremendous amounts of opportunities to grow. In this forum, I can't even guarantee right now that all of you are watching me. I have to trust that professionally at 9 o'clock you signed on and that you're listening. But I can't guarantee that. So what I ask you this week, when we provide choices, when we provide presentations, I ask that you try to embrace all of those opportunities that we are providing in the next 4 days. Again, I can't guarantee that you will attend them. All I'm saying is we have provided great depth in what is being available to you, whether it be in person, virtual, or a webinar. It's up to you to embrace those and take advantage of them. What I'd like to go over is the rest of today. So this afternoon, you should have received an email from me that had all of your groups And then that was probably either it could have been prior or followed up by your building principals that may have tweaked the groups. Whatever the building principal has laid out to you, they have tried to even out the numbers so that this afternoon when we do our restorative practice circles, that they will have a consistent number. In each of the cases, the presentations that you will go through for your restorative circles will be in the courtyard of each of your buildings, except for Jefferson, who has a crane in their courtyard. So they will be on the north end. You will see from the schedule, depending upon which grade level you're in, which band that you will go out and participate in those circles. When you're not in the circles, we have sent you links to the required COVID videos that Anne-Marie Miller has made. I want to do a shout out to Anne-Marie. Without her undying attention and professionalism to what we're overtaking here, and either a B, C, or A session. And then the last column is when you will be meeting with your grade level or department chairs. So in there at the top of the column, you will notice that they will send you a Google Meet. It is up to you whether you want to come together as a team or remain virtual through that Google Meet. Tomorrow, you will see at the top of the page that our special ed department has some commitments that they will be working on IEPs and transition goals. And then in the bottom, there is for all of the remaining general ed staff, we will have mandated or required technology elements that you need to go to. And then there are 4 columns of choice. So once you do your 2 required columns, now let me share with you, not everyone has to do the required columns. If you are a teacher that will be teaching synchronously or remotely, if you teach synchronously or remotely, you will need to attend 2 mandated sessions. One is with our tech department, and I would like to thank Frank Perry for creating an amazing presentation for you. And with the tech department, they are actually going to show you at the most basic level how to set up your physical classroom, your physical, not your Google Classroom, but your physical classroom, on how to present synchronously or remotely. If you are a teacher who has to teach a class or a set of students, you will be teaching synchronously or remotely, you will be required to go to that training tomorrow. In addition, the second column is, I just wanted to make, I want to go back to the first column. You will notice that the top 4 will be here in the high school. The bottom 2 sessions will be over at Jefferson. In the second column, if you are also that teacher that teaches synchronously or remotely, you will need to attend a presentation, and Alan Oliver is going to offer this one, and it will be on Google Slides and Pear Deck. So if you are teaching in those 2 forums, you have, and you can choose whichever time. This afternoon, I will be sending out the tech sign-up for you in which sections that you'd like to attend. The other 4 columns, the first one is by Ron Jacobs, and he will be teaching Google Classroom, Edpuzzle, and Jamboard. He'll repeat that in the afternoon. In the fourth column is Kathy Donahue. She will be doing Padlet, GimKit, and Flipgrid, and she will be repeating that in the afternoon. Those are our in-person, face-to-face professional development opportunities. In addition, the last two columns, we are also offering virtual or WebEx. And what we mean by that, this year we purchased a professional development warehouse. It's called Otis, and you can attend and sign up for professional development in all sorts of different technology, in social emotional learning, in flipped classrooms, in mindfulness. We'll be sending that information out to you. But if you choose that there is something in Otis that makes more sense for you to attend, you can choose one of those options. And then finally, in the last column, it is with St. Lawrence Lewis BOCES. What they have done is they have recorded all of their professional development since February. And in those recordings, they now have set up a grid in which you can go in and you can attend one of their Zoomed and recorded professional developments. For example, you might go at 8 o'clock to see Ron Jacobs face-to-face as he teaches Google Classroom, and then second period choose to watch one of his virtual recorded sessions that he did back in March. That would be up to you, and we're providing you that choice. So the first two columns are required if you are teaching synchronously or remotely. You will sign up for those. The other four columns are choice. We're going to ask you to go in and choose which one of those opportunities make the most sense to you or interest you as you begin our year in teaching. For those folks that attended Tech Camp, there were 70 of your fellow colleagues that attended Tech Camp. For our Tech Campers, if you are going to be teaching remotely or synchronously, you still have to go to the mandated professional developments in columns A and B. The rest of the day is yours. You can continue to put tools in your toolbox by choosing any of these wonderful professional development opportunities, but because you've already attended 3 days of Tech Camp, you have these tools already with you. One of the advantages of attending Tech Camp. On Thursday, all instructional staff, and this includes teachers, aides, assistants, guidance, nurses, etc. Everyone from 8 to 11, we have the wonderful opportunity of AJ Giuliani. He will be presenting on Thursday morning virtually. You can all watch it in your classroom. You can come together as a team if you would like. However, AJ Giuliani will be coming to us to talk about intentional innovation. And his focus will be on empowering students with choice and technology. It coincides with the goals and the mission of this year to try to put as many tools in your arsenal so that we are able to engage our students and that you as teachers are successful. He is extremely entertaining. He was at one of our staff development days 2 years ago. This is not the same presentation. This is a different strand. However, it fits extremely well into our mission this year. In the afternoon, our special education folks will be having some very specific professional development. Our group called Measurement Inc., it's with Candy Taverny and her group. They are going to be offering to our groups about culture and with meeting with families. So that is virtual, it's only 1 hour. And then in the afternoon, we do have a wonderful opportunity in that our elementary staff will have 2 in-person professional developments, depending upon which group you're in. That will be hosted and presented by Michelle Zagrabelny, Kyle DiTullio, and Anne-Marie Miller. They will go over how to work with our students with disabilities because typically these students we have to be in close proximity to for longer periods of time versus perhaps our gen ed teachers. So they're going to share with you very specific innovative ways in which to work with our student population, our complex students. For the rest of our folks, in the afternoon, we will continue with technology sessions. Now, if you were not able to get into some sessions on Tuesday, we will offer some repeat on Wednesday. I apologize. If you are not able to get to those on Wednesday, we will offer some choice PD and technology on Thursday. So if you have not finished your required sessions, you would need to do that, and then you may go to any of the choice. If you decide not to attend any of your choice, you may work in your classroom. On Friday morning, there is a large grouping of time in which you will be able to work on your planning. You can work with your team. You can also ask the experts. We will have Kathy and Ron will be available through a Google Meet in which they're just there. And if you have a question, you will just log into their Google Meet and say, hey, Kath, I can't make this Pear Deck do what I need it to do. How do I fix that? And she will work through that with you. If you are having a question about perhaps reading a student's IEP or working on an IEP, maybe we have some new students coming to the district and you're trying to figure out and you have questions, we have on hold the same type. We will send out a Google Meet link that says if you have any questions and you need some answers on IEPs, those are available. So we have a couple of folks who are virtually available to help you, especially in the areas of technology and students with disabilities. At 10:30, from 10:30 to 11:30, all staff will attend mindfulness training. It's not training, it's a presentation. It's for personal self-reflection. It is partnering with our Akwesasne group at Salmon River, also has these folks that are working with them. And so in collaboration with that group, we are going to be offering a virtual mindfulness presentation from 10:30 to 11:30. Then you will have lunch on your own. And in the afternoon, we're going to bookend the restorative justice circles. So this afternoon, when you go out and you're working in your circles, they're going to ask you questions to self-reflect. What are your concerns? What are you anxious about? What questions do you have of the district? And then on Friday, we're going to bookend that. We're going to ask those teams to come back together on the schedule that you see there. And you'll notice that it's a much shorter time, but we have you come back and we ask you those questions you have. The anxiety perhaps that was inside, has it dissipated? Have we answered your questions? Do you feel more safe? Do you feel the district has put safeguards in place? So we're going to bookend that. Now, when your group is not at restorative justice practice circles, you can work in your classroom. There was one opportunity that presented itself at the last minute. Zern, which is a virtual math program, specifically K through 5, but here at Messina, we use it 2 through 5. We will be having an opportunity where they will be providing professional development for grades 2 through 5 teachers who teach math. So if you are in grades 2 through 5 and you teach math, Zern, it's a 90-minute presentation, but it's only 60 minutes, and then they allow time for questions and answers. So you will see there at the bottom that your schedule is a little different. For those grades 2 through 5 math teachers, you will not be attending restorative justice circles. Instead, you will be attending the Zern Math PD. When the Math PD is over, you're able to work in your classrooms. So last year, at the end of, it was not the end of last year, it was in November, we were notified by State Ed that we are a district that had an area that was not successful. That area was with our students with disabilities, and as a result of that, we are now a targeted district for our subgroup of students with disabilities. That is why you will see much attention to professional development. And when the committee came together, as we were required to by State Ed, to identify the top 5 priorities to address and to work with our students with disabilities. And when we gain these tools and strategies, they work for all students. But we had to submit to State Ed a DSET, a District Comprehensive Instructional Plan of how we were going to work with this specific subgroup. Here are the 5 priorities that were submitted, and you can see as you look through there in red, the 5 priorities are also the 5 priorities in which we are working with everything this year. For example, teachers will implement instruction that incorporates student engagement strategies. Those are all of the technology opportunities that we are providing. The second one that is in blue is about writing. Right now, we are not going to focus on this. We need to open our buildings, and we will eventually get there. However, I do want to share that in the summer, Our English department, grades 6 through 12, have adopted a common curriculum. It's called Actively Learn, and through that we will also be able to tackle the writing. The third priority is families will be engaged with instructional communication. That is why on Digital Mondays, we have a half hour blocked out so that you can communicate with your families. The fourth priority, students will improve their attendance. We are hoping with instructional engagement with the strategies that you're learning, and that reaching out to families, that will also help to increase our attendance. And finally, we are all hoping that the fifth priority, where the district will create a safe, nurturing, and respectful learning environment, is evident by all of the hard work that everyone has done over the summer to open these doors. From the committees that had so many members on them in a Google Meet, to all of our workers who were behind the scenes. That's all that our mission has been, is to provide you with a safe and nurturing environment. I close today with the following statement by Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then, when you know better, do better. I leave you with this. Start slow. Keep it simple. Less is more. Well, even though those are very quick adages that anyone can say, I implore with you, take it slow. We will come back and revisit all the instructional plans that have been set forth, and we will, if have to, back off of those and revisit those. However, do the best you can until you know how to do better. And then when you know how to do better, be better. Thank you. Have a great year.